the clan mothers picked who would represent their clan, you know. And so they had a process of nurturing a male to get to that point. There was things that this man could not do in order for him to be in a leadership position for the Iroquois nation. And if this man didn't do these things, or his leadership was not very good, then the clan mothers would dehorn him. They would take away his leadership. And so we had this process, you know. And what happened then with tribal women was that we weren't recognized, you know, as in our rights as leaders within our tribes, because the federal government only wanted male signatures. The 1868 treaty, in the Fort Laramie Treaty, only male signatures. And you look at, go look at Wounded Knee, you know, in South Dakota. You go look at the monument that's there, and it's Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so. Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so. One of the rights that women had was that we retained our name in marriage. We didn't become Mr. and Mrs. Sitting Bull, or, you know, we didn't become Mrs. Sitting Bull, you know, Mrs. Gall, or Mrs., you know, anything. We kept our name. You know, we were known for our name, who we were. And so again, with the impact of colonization, then we became to assume that our husbands, when we got married, their name. And you know, marriage was something for many tribes. It was a very quick ceremony, and divorce was a very quick ceremony. You know, in our tribe, all a woman had to do, because the teepee was her domain, her home. All she had to do was gather her things and sit them outside the teepee, and he knew that he was no longer welcome in her home. And so divorce was very quick. And today, when we get a divorce, it's such a drawn, long-out process, you know. You're still married 6 months later, you know, and you're still trying to circle as to who's going to get the sofa and who's going to get the love seat, you know, and, you know, you go through this whole process, you know, getting a divorce. So marriage was something that was very, you know, again, it was respected, but there was a way for women to win. And violence was not tolerated at all in marriage. You know, a woman being beaten was not tolerated at all in marriage. And so from where I come from, we have stories about how men were handled when they battered a woman. We have stories about how men were handled when they raped a woman, you know, especially in marriage. And one of the stories that was told to me was that, well, a couple of them was this man had sexually assaulted his wife, and she went home. The brothers got together, the uncles, the male relatives. They got together. They went to see him. And because, you know, it happened probably in the last 150 years, you know, here's the directions they gave to this man was, go over the hill. We don't want to see it. That was the instructions he was given. Nothing more. They gave him this gun. He went over the hill, shot the gun off, but didn't kill himself. And so then the brothers went and completed killing him. They bound him, and then they killed him. There was another one where it was a similar situation again, and this man was given the instruction. They gave him a knife. He said, go over the hill. We don't want to see it. We don't want to see it. He went over the hill and he committed suicide. Killed himself for what he did to a woman. So consequences were swift for women who were battered, for women who were sexually assaulted. Today, with the legal system as it is, you know, we get to court maybe 3 years later, and they're just not dealing with it, you know, and so, again, you know, things were carried out very, very quickly, and it sent a strong message to our male relatives, to that this is what will happen. You know, you are responsible for your action. So even in death, you are responsible for your action. You were given that opportunity. And if you didn't take care of it in a proper way, then you were, you know, taken care of. So this is basically the work that I do, you know, in reclaiming the sacred. I call it not so much the rights of women, but I call it the reclaiming the sacredness of tribal women all over Turtle Island. Because women, as women, we're very sacred. Because we are the ones that give birth to the next generation. And when a woman reaches her menses, young girl, when she first gets her menses, then there are ceremonies for her. Her rites of purity ceremonies for her, which then told the community that she was a young woman now, and she had a responsibility to bear children. She was able to do that.